Hey guys, and welcome back to your home base, Trekyards. He's Commander Cockings.
And I am surrounded by tribbles. You can't see them, but I mean, there's like a force field, and they're like right above it. And because we're in the Kelvin timeline, they're bigger. Not as big as Prodigy, but they're bigger. So we're in the Kelvin timeline strip, but where the hell are we? If people haven't guessed / read the title or thumbnail, where are we? What are we doing today, Strip?
And I'm Captain Foley.
And he's Captain Foley.
You never announce me. You just go into your spiel. It's fine.
And he's Captain Foley.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Yeah. Today we are visiting K7, in case you couldn't tell by the triple references. However, this is the K7 station from the game, the VR game, Star Trek Bridge Crew. So this is a Kelvin version. I'm excited to look at this because I've seen it in game and I didn't really think too much about it because the shapes are all correct. And yeah, we're going to look at the details now because it is different and it's worth taking a look at. So,
and of course, brought to you new high-res octane-based renders of the station, orthographics, comparisons, etc. All exclusive on Trekyards. You can see this nowhere else. So, you know, you're welcome. Yeah, K7, JJ, licensed by, of course, CBS in the game, but not built by the teams of the movie. So it is someone else putting the artistry in. But fair to say they took the assignment seriously. They didn't JJ Kelvin it, in the sense of the D4 and such from Interlars. What do you think, though, as the TOS fanboy you are? What do you think?
They made it more realistic. And they kind of took away the simplicity that was TOS, though, because, you know, we love the smooth hulls. We love the nice creamy color of the Enterprise. K7 had the same vibe. It was gray, but it had very smooth texturing. This feels bigger because of the window scale.
Oh, yeah.
And B, a lot more realistic or lived in. Just because of the way it's designed, it feels like a more realistic version of what K7 could be, I guess.
I have a drink every time it says realistic, I think, for this video.
Realistic.
Yeah.
Realistic.
Okay.
Realistic.
Starting now. But do you like it?
I do. And even the little pops of color with the red striping and stuff like that looks great.
So for me, I think they've made some very good choices, and then I see the pylons, and I don't like them, and it pulls me out of it because they're much longer. They ruin the vibe. I don't understand why they've got the lines. That no detail. Like, I mean, the rest of it is obviously the same rough pod 4 times. The design is meant to be a clone with a good base silhouette, right? I just think the pylons let it down so much versus the simplicity and the cleanness of the originals, and I would love to redesign this just to tweak those and bring them in and shift it a bit. I would be much better.
I don't have a problem with the pylons or the ribbing on them. There are 2 distinct spots that look like they could be detachable, and as a space station or an outpost, just take that off and add some extra, you know, get like Jupiter Station going on where you got a whole bunch of these saucer shaped elements. You could expand the station, so I don't have a problem with that.
Well, I mean, hell, if you were going real fancy with this, assuming it doesn't spin anymore, because we know it spins in some versions. If you had the outer pods have connection points at all 4 areas in the design, then you could just add on, like you say, Jupiter Station or Daystrom Station it. This design, the modularity, the detail feels more appropriate to that. That, I think, yeah, could be really interesting. Weird, of course, but then we look at stations in Trek where, especially in comics, they like add a dry dock as a unit. This could do that really well, I think, and not the original K7. That wouldn't feel right. This, as a certain level of oomph, that would work.
Yeah, that's why I don't mind the look of those new pylons, because they look functional. They look like they have a purpose that, you know.
I see they look too long and too spindly to me without any details. They look non-functional to me.
Okay.
We'll see how orthographic, because I've also done the renders, so I have slightly more perspective on. But yeah, but I really, really like the pod plate details. I think those are gentle enough to be not overbearing, but they had a lot of visible detail. I really like the ring lighting. It doesn't do anything functional, but it gives a real pop, and I love the interaction. It's such a nice little detail.
I like that they kept all the shapes the same, even like the towers. They could have changed the vibe.
That's how you do it.
I know.
It's just not a shock. I do kind of wish, and I wonder if you'll agree here, that they made each individual, especially the outer pylon or the outer pods, have different colours to imply different things versus all be red.
Red, blue, and a yellow. One for science, one for...
Well, this is civilian, so purple
Yeah.
for grain and blue for medical supplies. Like, I think that would be nice versus the red station. I know, it's a small thing, but
Yeah, yeah.
but let's look at some fun. Obviously, it doesn't quite work with the station in terms of all the views because it's the same thing repeated. But here's a really fun sort of perspective-y on the ground shot. And a little note: there wasn't any bump mapping or normal mapping, so I did an AI version of that for this. So just kind of gives some extra detail. Here it's a bit more obnoxious than it could be. Just going to get something because these are game models that aren't designed for this kind of thing. So slight disclaimer: it's not actually as intended.
Well, here you can definitely see that, yes, it feels like the original K7. Just at first glance, from a distance, it's like, that's K7. You didn't change anything. Like I said, sense of scale is much improved here because of those windows. You can get a sense of, like, it actually feels like a large space station and not just an outpost station. I can kind of see what you mean by the struts here.
Yeah, I didn't realize they were not even connected to the middle. They were just like around it. That feels even less logical.
Yeah.
That's just they didn't know what to do there, so to add some... Like, it'd be cool if there was a turbolift shaft, like, inside the extra bit that you could see out, and it's like that's the equivalent of the motorways, and just tubes going up and down could be cool, but no. So I'm confused about the windows here, because from further away they all can feel consistent, but the bottom shuttle bay area are absolutely giant, and the ones in the front pod are much, much smaller. Now, is that implying that in the bottom they're all like giant, like a deck and a half bay windows, which, maybe, and everything else is kind of office windows, because there is a disparity in scale of windows here that is pretty noticeable.
I would say possibly that's the case, yeah, because that lower pod has the shuttle bay, and you can also assume a lot of cargo bays, which, being like a warehouse or factory size, could be multiple decks, so you have a larger window. I don't know. Feels like something that is a distinct possibility, yeah.
Like, imagine if you had total control here. Imagine if you could change all those windows, or maybe cut a few out, but all those windows at the bottom into being like Earth Space Dock style cut-ins, where they are implied hangars. Would that improve or weaken? Of course, you've got to see inside them and a little bit of glows, and to make the bottom like a really like proper cargo functional. So you got like the little shuttle bays, and then you got the big hangar bay.
That'd be kind of neat, yeah. I think that would take too much away from the original K7, though, which had just like a single bay for some shuttles.
But this is much bigger, it feels like.
It does, yeah. And I'd have no problem adding something like that, but I can see why they didn't, maybe. I don't know.
There's some black insets. That'd be perfect. Add some like multi whatevers.
Or even just have like some smaller ships docked there, like even work bees just backed in.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Oh, yeah.
Outside.
Yeah. But it just sort of bothers me that the scaling windows feel so inconsistent, because these pods, do they look like they're 20 decks big?
Well, if they are, then it definitely makes the station much larger than it was, right?
I'm not against, but it does shift the feeling.
And I never even noticed that the windows in the lower pod were larger until you said something. I had to kind of zoom in. At first glance, no one's really going to notice that, I don't think.
I also wouldn't have done the windows in the cutout section, because it feels like they just threw a texture to keep the windows going. I would have. Yeah. There's definitely I put it in, or on the projection bit. Like I don't think both would have windows in the same way, or at least the same style. Small thing. What do you think about having windows in the big cargo pod at the top, kind of make that a bit more integrated?
That's not the cargo pod. I believe that's like office areas, administration office areas. It's an odd feature of K7 to have that like can attached to the side. I like the look of it. And yeah, you can assume maybe that's the hospital facility. Maybe that's something unique, right?
I think it looks good with the added slits and the windows. I think that's a pretty decent tweak.
Yeah.
But no, it's a nice... and boy, they saved a bit of time, because obviously they just built the model. It's such an easy thing to build for a fan or asset. The same pieces, right? Yeah. And they haven't tried to tweak, which is fine. Bottom under view.
Well, there you can see on each side that's not facing us, you can see the shuttle bays, or the shuttle bay areas.
Oh, there's two. I didn't know that from the previous render. Huh.
Yeah,
well,
I think cool. K7 only had one.
Yeah. Do you like it? Does it look nice?
I do like it, yeah. No, it absolutely works for me. It feels 1960s design still. It feels very simplistic, like saucer UFO type of vibe to it, and that's fine.
Yeah, I get a real Men in Black, the end of the first movie, flying saucer from this.
Yeah.
Like, because the bottom is so much cleaner than the top, but it's depthy enough, and I really think the way they did the 2 or 3 tones of grey does a lot to make a boring, right, structure have that certain something that just works. I don't know if I agree with 60s, because 60s, we saw what 60s was, and it was very clean. I think if you took away the windows, right, because that scaling's all over the place and they're too much, whatever, and maybe the ribbing on the pylons, but I think the flying saucerness, I think you could see this almost like this with different texturing in the motion picture. I think you could see this being we need to visually update it and add some detailing. How do we do simple detailing? And it's kind of, again, a few tweaks, but the core principle they've done, I think, is very much a TMP. We'll do it again, refit to TOS Connie. I think there's a good apples to apples comparison for detail level, which I commend them for JJ thing. That's kind of a restrained but faithful feeling thing, right? The next orthographic, Stuart, orthographic. The top, of course, on the left. There's been no front and back for obvious reasons. But the top on the left, bottom on the right. Very, very similar. What do you think?
Does what it's meant to do. It looks like K7. It's very simple, and it works. It's a good design. It's a classic design.
What shocks me is how, and I didn't get this from the other views, that, as you said, maybe hospital pod, real freaking small in this version. It's an afterthought. In the other version, it is, and we'll see in a minute. It's a big, chunky piece. I thought it was big from the outside. Top view, it is entirely lost, almost, in design. I'm kind of shocked.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the other views, it did look like it's, pretty important piece. Here it just kind of... I do love on the top view, though, that going to that pod, there's like a corridor, which is neat. They didn't have to do that.
But I could see you adding 4, and it would look good.
Yeah.
Less creative, but yeah, look good. But yeah, this is a nice enough thing. The side view, though, this I think loses something, but it really is those pylons. They just feel odd and not in keeping with the art style to me. That pod looks giant there. What the hell? Well, not giant, but big. What the hell?
Again, they could have tweaked the shapes of those towers, and they haven't, and I like that. I just think it's such a nice look.
Well, they've got some more platey, grilly of the extruding pieces. They're not identical, and we'll see in a minute. But yeah, they're very faithful.
But I mean, at first glance, from a distance, this is K7. Like, there's no change.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm kind of surprised that I feel like I can see in the lower pods the 3D artist building the half of the pod and mirroring it. There's a real end line to the middle, which it's so sharp that K7 especially is very curved and nice. That I disagree with. And I didn't realize they were that flat. I would certainly round out the middle and make it a bit thicker. I think that diminishes the vibe quite a lot. Works better for the top one because the scale's bigger and it kind of hides it. But I think the side two, not as good on the side. But this definitely feels like you take the basic design and make a hero high poly, smooth out all the edges. Could really sing, except the pylons, but everything else. But let's do some comparisons. This is Rob Bonshoon's model that he made. Obviously, Rob Bonshoon, classic VFX supervisor of Enterprise, Voyager, worked on BSG extensively, etc., etc. Wonderful guy. He made this for the calendars, I believe, and he lets us use it very nicely. So yeah, what do you think? As we've said in many of these videos over the years, you might think the same until you put it side by side.
Yeah, the simple shapes are there. The thing I wasn't registering until I saw this is the United Federation of Planets thing is missing, and that's a huge part of what makes K7 K7. Also, this one has the different colors. It's got blue, green, and red on the different pods. Which
I guess I knew was there, but I'd forgotten. But I said it for a reason.
Looking at this, I prefer the K7 to the original one. The more simplistic vibe just feels better for something like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Everything has been shifted in terms of how big it is to the other shapes, which changes the feel, right? On the outer domes, the amount of circle to point is radically different, so that changes the feel. In the middle, the container unit is now much smaller. I forgot it had a the extending we commented on going in. I kind of forgot that. But everything's becoming shifted. That said, and again, this is Rob Bontrain's model, but he's loves accuracy. I'd forgotten there's the sort of plating dimensionality on K7, because in this view you kind of see it with the shadow, and they have just pulled that as the aesthetic and just given it, the kind of the Kirk and JJ extreme treatment. But I appreciate more now. There was the pattern to follow. They just ran with it, so I actually really appreciate that here.
And also that pod on the side of the main body is lined up with one of the pylons, which I like. Yeah. And the outer pods have like a thicker connecting piece that almost looks like it slides into the pole, whereas it's lost on this new one.
It looks a lot nicer from this view. It feels way more intentional.
Yeah, as detailed as this new one is, and as how much it just kind of like feels like K7, it feels way more amateurish now compared to the original one. The original one just has a refinement and a subtlety to it that just says more advanced. I'm really actually kind of disillusioned now, because when I first saw it I really liked this one, but the original is just so nice.
But let's see how you feel about the side view comparison, which is, do you see what I mean about the pylons?
Yeah, I do. It does feel smaller. Look at the windows on the towers. And it feels a little bit more realistic and grounded, especially with that shuttle bay on the bottom of the bottom pod there. That's 2-deck shuttle bay, at least, maybe more.
Yeah, two in room.
Yeah.
I mean, again, commendation. They've done an amazing job. But right, and this is why I said without full confidence, but you'd said they didn't change the outer domes. Oh no, they're entirely different. The shape's different, the point's different, the way it connects is different.
It's got more of a bullet look for the original. This new one's more rounded,
which is good. It is good. It's a simple change, but yeah, could have done with the color on top. That would have been.
But it's one of those things. Unless you have this side by side comparison, your brain just says, "Hey, that's almost exactly the same."
But I think the pylons are, even though they're just literally tubes with some lining, so much better than the current ones. Having that distinction of the small pylons to give the middle bit some time to shine versus the current one, it all blends in together to this giant like outstretched arms versus, I mean, I guess it feels more integrated, but the other one, it has more of a, every piece plays a purpose. Very interesting.
Yeah.
But let's do a couple of other shots I did. This is another angle kind of celebrating, I guess, the pod and, the vibe. So now you've maybe changed your opinion. How does such an iconic shot feel to you now?
It just feels like a larger station. Like the K7 one can still exist in the universe. This is just a larger version of it.
Yeah, maybe even if this is, let's take the JJ versus, what it is, post Beyond, and there's a memo on Starfleet saying our next K station, we're going to beef up the neck, which is the pylons, hence why they're like 3 times as big, because we don't want the swarm going through this one. But I really like the domes. I think I love the additional detailing. It's gentle but effective. I really, really like the grilling, lighting, really effective. The hardness of the poly at the end of the line really annoys me, but that's the limit of the model. It's a VR fun game for a background asset, kind of. Absolutely fine. Definitely you could hero this up to be really something special. I would probably reduce the window scale closer. Probably it's still bigger than the other one. I think this does feel like a bigger station. But I would shift that a little bit and not just put them everywhere. Next view is the bottom where you can see the shuttle bay, which we'll get into in a second, which looks really cool from the bottom. A lot going on.
Yeah, it does. I prefer the pod in that center thing to be just lined up with the pylon. I didn't even realize that was a thing. Now it's just bothering me, because it's not even centered between the 2 pylons. It's closer to one. And if these rotated independently... Cool, but it's not necessary,
But let's celebrate, and we're getting a little bit close to the model now, the shuttle bay, which, in fairness, pretty darn close to the other one. It was from JJ Shells in there, which is a nice touch.
There you get a sense of the scale of at least that bottom pod, like 4 or 5 decks, and then there's another one on the other side too. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. K7 only has one of the sides have the shuttle bay, so.
But this is K7JJ. Well, I gotta give them a commendation for their window texture, having so much variety to look like there's people and furniture in every room being custom, and that's a great, for as simple as it is, there's a lot of detail for not just being yellow or blue or white or whatever. No, this is fun. I like the red warning lights. I like the blue force field. Yeah, it's very close to what it should be, just a bit bigger, and by bit I mean a lot. Although it's funny, the back doors are meant to be useful doors, but the shuttles in the bay are so much bigger than the doors. I know it's not necessarily designed for those, but maybe put a shuttle in this design for just to kind of show scale, because it's like, why have you picked big shuttles? But obviously they have big shuttles in JJ, so. Next picture, though, celebrate the K of the K7 in the pod. And I kind of thought I broke the model here with the top, because the K7 is like stuck in the middle of a thing that's kind of floating. It's not, it's a plate. But it looks weird.
It does look weird. And also the lack of United Federation of Planets, just boldly, like proudly put on there, is missing.
Well, it's more difficult here with the fact there's a giant dip in the plating. Well, it'd be fine like on the outer rim. So the Star Wars there with the outer bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the K and is that the K7 in a motion picture era?
I was just gonna say that. Yep.
Font
motion picture era font. Yeah.
But while I appreciate the attention to detail of a plating, it works from a baseline perspective. The text is now so small relative to the area that I think it doesn't do the job it's trying to do of being the sign, because we've barely seen it in other views. It's so missable, and it could be 30% bigger, 40% bigger if it just was a full filled in. Like maybe that one zone is filled in and the rest of it is cut out because it's the right small thing, but yeah. And last of all, a classic beauty, celebrating something that you have literally been around in game looking with your face and your eyes, and now you've got a full breakdown. What do you think? Are you sold? Should we go back into TOS and remaster and replace it? What are you thinking?
Absolutely not. I am sold. It works for the JJ verse. As far as JJ designs go, this holds very true to the original, and you got to give them credit for that, because a lot of times they kind of do missteps in that regard. And this is taking that original design and making it new yet the same. And yeah, to the casual viewer, even to some more scrutinous viewers at first glance without a comparison side by side, because even I was kind of fooled by the first couple shots, thinking it was pretty much spot on, but so many subtle and not so subtle differences. But it easily tricks your eye and your brain to go, yep, that's K7. So it's an accomplishment. It's a win for them, and I think for JJ, it's absolutely great.
Yeah, it's a different bar, but I appreciate that they didn't throw away the wheel. They looked at the wheel. They said, I'm going to take it for a different spin. And for the most part, good tweaks, good changes, good adaptations. A few things I would change. But I do probably believe that if they had, 5 times the polygon budget, it'd also be different, right? They had a very strict budget. It's good for what it is. I think they'd do more if they had more. If they would hear it up, you could do a lot with this very, very quickly. Like even something as, again, the pylons is always what stands out to me here. But if you had them be visible tubes or walkways, and had like spotlights in the various areas to kind of like add 3-dimensional lighting to really kind of deep, wouldn't take a lot, right? You could do a lot with them to kind of give it that depth. Then you can have those really fun TMP shots where there's very little light, but it's really self-lit, right? No, solid. Where would you? That was a broad question, but in the pantheon of JJ designs, top 50%, top 30%, top 20% for that universe.
Maybe the top 30%.
Yeah, I think probably top 20% for me. I think it's doing what you should do. Take the original and just tweak it a bit. So that's effective. Yeah, well done. Go play Bridge Crew today and see it in yourself on the Aegis. Crazy.
So, hit that like button. Comment down below what you thought about this station. Do you like it? Do you remember it from Bridge Crew? Did you play Bridge Crew? Let us know in the comment section. And yeah, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell icon. And come join us for all our lives and all the fun stuff we do over here.
And if you want to support what we do here, brand new renders, brand new looks, brand new stop, and embrace the polygons, then you can by helping us via super chatting during any live on any topic, on any ranked or discussion or new Trek, etc. Any super chat goes a long way, or regularly if you like what we do and see value in it for both our 10 years and 10 years post. Then join the channel on YouTube and give a little bit every month, or Patreon as well, a little bit every month. It all helps, and we thank you in advance.
That's right. So until next time, he's Commander Calkins.
He's Captain Foley.
And it makes me wonder if Station K9 is crewed by dogs.
Yes.
Cool.
Bye, guys.
Bye.